Hello, Title Tribe. Welcome back to Toilets to Titles, this network's very own. This guy is fragile. We need to come up with some words to go with that music and see if we can get somebody with a uh, talented vocal voice to sing a song with that background beat. What do you think, George?
I just think we need somebody with a very girly voice to say, "Hey, doctor, it's time for my checkup."
Well, that's Dr. George speaking. At George Reed FF. I'm at Justin FF underscore. And as you can see right there next to the shoulder that's been absolutely killing me the last few days, not quite to the extent of Keenan Allen, which we'll get to that in a little bit, but joinrival.com/title tribe. That is the newest evolution in fantasy sports betting. Do us a huge favor and use that link whenever you log in. And when you go to place your first $1 bingo card, that's right, I said it's only $1 a bingo card, and you get achievements checked off of your bingo card. Just like instead of like B6, you get wide receiver scores a touchdown in the second quarter, and your wide receiver happens to get a touchdown in the second quarter. It checks it off. You try to play and win bingo, much like I did back in week 2. And I'm getting tired of saying back in week 2. I'd like to say back in week 11. So I'm going to keep trying. But your first deposit of up to $200 will be matched, plus an additional $25 just for using that link. But we're not here to talk fantasy sports gambling tonight. We're here to talk about the most recent injury updates from the fantasy doctors, from Sleeper, from Yahoo, from all the different sources that we could come up with. Mostly the fantasy doctors, and but George, first before we get started with that, how was your week, my man?
Absolutely fantastic week so far. I am really glad that it is Friday. I'm glad it is the end of the week. Started a new project house with my dad. We went through, did all the demo on that. Just got to finish ripping out a bathroom, and it'll just be a shell, and we'll be ready to do what we got to do to put it back together. So excited about that. I took some of Uncle Steve's money yesterday, so excited about that.
Yeah, well, wait a minute. I thought he took some of your money.
No,
Did
no,
he have he had Lamar, right?
no, he had Burrow.
Oh, okay. Well, he sent me the one he sent to me, he had Lamar and I was going to get Burrow. He told me that he sent it to everybody else after I said no. Huh. All
No,
right.
because the way Lamar has played historically against the Bengals, I would have taken. I would not have taken the Burrow side.
All right, all right. Well, either way, I've got plenty of rival bets this week. I've placed several for this week's games, and you guys can find that on our Friendly Fire show with Nate and myself, or possibly with George and myself, because I forgot to mention to you that Nate may not be able to record, and I was going to reach out to you or Rich and see if you guys wanted to fill in. Either way, I've got a lot of bets out there this week, and we'll be talking about it on Friendly Fire, which you guys will be able to watch tomorrow night right here on the Toilets and Titles Network. And of course, you can get in on the rival chat on the free gilded chat that we've got going on. Reach out to myself at JustinFF underscore or at Coach Sheps if you want in on the free gilded chat, and we'll send you a nice little invite. But without further ado, let's talk about these injuries. Before we get on to this coming week's injuries, guys, we watched it last night, Thursday night football kind of hit us. It hit us hard. We had several injuries on defense, as far as B.J. Hill and Cam Taylor Britt. There was just several injuries, but there were two big ones that are very fantasy relevant. Looks like they're going to be out for the season. Joe Burrow, unfortunately, and Mark Andrews. Uh, the most recent update that I'm seeing on both of them is that they are very likely both out for the season, totally annihilating some of your fantasy teams. So, absolutely hate to see it, but you can stay tuned to Toilets and Titles because you have time. You're going to find out who to replace these guys with whenever we go over our waiver wire episode to the Patreons on Monday night. or throughout the week next week when we try to give you the different free agents that are out there to pick up to replace these guys. But these are two big guys that are hard to replace, George.
Yeah, they're literally top guys at their position. Like the quarterback position has already been taking a massive hit. Like there's been like 10 rookies that have started this year. So to lose one of the top guys in Joe Burrow, like that is absolutely brutal. I feel bad for those that lost him, especially as we're getting ready to head into the playoffs for fantasy. Joe Burrow was starting to hit a stride. Just came back from the calf issue. Um, I mean, it's bad. He'll be back next year. Unfortunately, it's not going to help anybody this year. And then in an already watered down uh, tight end position, which I say it's already watered down. It's really not. Like there have been some great tight ends that came into the league this year. So the position's getting a little bit better, but you're losing one of the top 4 or 5 guys
Yeah.
at the position. So that really stinks. Next man up is Isaiah Likely, but it's not a 1-for-1.
No.
He doesn't do what Mark Andrews does. So it just
Yeah.
all
And then
around it just brutal Thursday night game. It's just another reason the NFL should. I mean, they're not going to because there's too much money, but they should really look to get away from Thursday night games.
And then after Andrews went down, Isaiah likely had more routes ran and more plays than that Kohler guy, but Kohler had the catches when they were able to make catches. Well, Isaiah likely I think had one catch, but he got called back for a penalty, so he didn't even record a catch. So, like I said, it's not 1-for-1. What this does is it helps bolster all of the wide receivers that are there for Baltimore. So, yeah, just not again, it's something we're going to talk about more throughout the week as far as how to replace these guys. But like I said, we're trying to replace the irreplaceable in some cases. But we'll move on to this week's updated report for Week 11 because we know you guys are tuning in to set your Week 11 fantasy lineups, and if you had those two guys, you've already played them, and now we have to move on. So let's start with the new quarterbacks that are on this list. Derek Carr and Taylor Heineke are on bye this week. So one of these guys, Heineke, you still want to continue to monitor because that was a hamstring strain. So he
Yep.
may or may not play in week 12 at this point. Derek Carr should be good to go for week 12. The shoulder is okay. It was mostly the concussion that we were worried about. And with him having the bye week, this is just perfect timing for him on the bye week. He should be good to go. And then Baker Mayfield, right thumb sprain, no real concern. They think he's going to play. Um, uh, Danny DeVito's nephew, Tommy, left shoulder. There's no real details at this point. They're not ready to say he's in or out for sure, but they're pretty sure he's probably going to play. It is the left shoulder, too, so he should be good to go, but they just don't want to commit to that just yet. Bryce Young, quad bruise. They're at about 75% right now on whether or not he'll play. Chances are you're only playing him in super flex leagues. And if he's been your super flex all season, you probably have another option you've been playing matchups with anyway. And then Justin Fields, potential of returning in week 11. You can start him, but there's a 15% re-injury risk according to the fantasy doctors. And that's a severe level of concern on that. So, and then of course we've already talked about Burrow. Lamar Jackson had a left mild high ankle sprain. It's he's likely going to play through it. He played through it through the rest of the game last night and continued to play at a high level. So I'm not too concerned about that. And then of course, George, I'm sure you want to talk about the big elephant in the room that I refuse to talk about. That third guy on the list there.
Yeah. So real quick, I'm going to backtrack a little bit to Lamar. When asked how the ankle was, he was quoted to say it's good. So yeah, he definitely expect him to play next week. Um,
It
as
sounded like a Bill
far
Belichick response.
exactly, as far as the other one is Deshaun Watson, season ending. I know Justin is happier. It couldn't happen to a better guy in his eyes. He's
Yep.
got a right shoulder issue. That's a gelinoid fracture and a left high ankle sprain. What's interesting is he actually asked if he could get shot up to play through the injury, and the doctor stepped in and said, "No, you can't. You need surgery." So he wanted to play through it, but it's a season ending. So Deshaun Watson is out. He'll be back next year.
Oh, poor guy. So that's fantasy karma. That's regular karma. That's uh,
That's
that's
life karma.
that's the Browns being the Browns. So good for the Browns. They deserve it. All right. So we move on. The other injuries on this list, they're not too concerned about. They have them listed mainly at 100% to play, but the big names on there, Will Levis, Matt Stafford, though, with that right thumb injury, the UCL sprain, they think he's going to be returning in week 11. So they did go out and sign Carson Wentz as their backup. So I don't really know what to think of that. I kind of thought that maybe they were skeptical that he might not come back, but it's looking like he may come back. Maybe that's just precaution. But then you got Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, T. Law, Patty Mahomes, Josh Allen, Geno. All of these guys are looking to be 100% to come back and play this week. So no real concerns on the rest of the board there. George, who are the new running backs on our list?
Oh, and boy, do we got some new names on this list. We'll start out with the Giants, Saquon Barkley. Let me know if I sound like I'm repeating myself. He's dealing with an ankle injury. He tweaked it. It's a high ankle sprain. 75% that he'll play this week. The Giants, man, they just had bad luck with injuries this year. It's been terrible. Devonta Foreman for Chicago. He's also dealing with an ankle. It's a lateral ankle sprain, so it's not nearly as bad as a high ankle sprain. They have both Saquon and Devonta Foreman expected to play, 75% chance. Antonio Gibson, less likely to play. He's dealing with a toe injury. He's got a significant history of turf toe, so they got him down as a 25% chance to play. My boy Rico Dowdle from Dallas, he's dealing with an ankle sprain. It's a mid-ankle injury, likely a lateral ankle sprain, but they expect him to play 100%. Ramondre Stevenson dealing with a back injury. It's probably because he's been carrying around dead weight from his quarterback position all year. But he's on a bye, so it's not really affecting anybody for fantasy this week. Alexander Mattison is dealing with the concussion. He's in the protocol right now. They have it as a 25% chance that he plays. I actually think he'll clear and he will play. If he doesn't, wheels up for Tyson Chandler. Raheem Mostert for the Dolphins. He's got a knee and an ankle injury. That's what they listed him as. He's playing. I can tell you that right now. It was probably a Veterans Day of rest for him. So those are all the new ones on the report.
So, Mr. Dolphins guy, with this news of Raheem Mostert, just kind of taking the day off and probably still going to be playing, and then you got Devon Achane coming back.
Yep.
What does that split look like with both of them being healthy?
I think it'll look exactly what it looked like prior to Achane getting injured. Like the Dolphins haven't really featured a single running back all year. It's been a committee. It's been a very, very good committee for fantasy. But they're going to deploy a committee approach. Outside of one game, when Devon Achane came back and got inserted into the rotation, he's only had one game with over 20 touches, and that was the game where they dropped 70 on the vaunted Denver Broncos. So outside of that, he's been right around 10, 12 touches a game, and that's what I expect for him to walk into when he comes back.
So are we looking at maybe a 40-30-30, 40% Mostert, 30% HN, and 30% everyone else?
If I had my way with it, it would be 40% of the offensive touches going to Mostert, 40%, 45% going to Mostert, 40% going to Achane, and 15% can be divvied up between Savon Ahmed and Jeff Wilson. Those two, the last two, really don't need to be seeing the field outside of situational stuff. But I would feed your two speedsters. I would feed Achane, I would feed Mostert, let them do all their damage, and everybody else is sit on the bench and enjoy the nice weather because you're going to be at home for the next 5 games. So just relax. It's a nice day outside. Enjoy your football from the bench.
So after those the new ones, I'm going to go over these big names where the fantasy doctors are not 100% sure that they're going to be in. We've got Damian Pierce here. It looks like he's going to be out again this week. And then
Confirmed he's out.
Jerome Ford, uh, it says very mild right high ankle, better with each week, but they still only have him as about 50-50 this week. Like I said, Achane, there's a good chance that he's going to be back this week, right? Um, with
Yes. Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted.
Okay, no, yeah, so he's pretty likely back this week. Khalil Herbert, high ankle sprain, likely to return this week as well. But still not 100% positive on that. But he's most likely going to be coming back to Khalil Herbert to muddy up that committee a little bit more again. Then we have Amari DiMercado, which I'm not as concerned about since it looks like James Conner is back and good to go. So because he did look pretty good in his return. So so we can pretty much forget about DiMercado and all the other guys back there for the Cardinals. Let's see. Kyron Williams and Damian Harris are both still out. Everybody else on the list, they're not too concerned about. And James Conner still probably going to, or still obviously going to play. Joe Mixon played last night. Keaton Mitchell played last night. Kendre Miller is on bye this week. But yeah, it doesn't look like. Oh yeah, and as we're talking, they changed it to Amari DiMercado is officially out. They just changed that as we were talking on the
Yep, I noticed that.
on the list. So yeah, nothing else very major there on the running back front, George. There are a ton of new wide receivers. Why don't you just go through the list of the key names that you see here, all the way down to OBJ?
Okay. 1 second. Okay, here we go. So first one on the list is, of course, Tyreek Hill, Miami Dolphins. Expecting to play. It's a foot injury, no details. There's nothing wrong with his foot. It was a Veterans Day of rest. Keenan Allen, he's got a shoulder issue. He's got a left AC sprain, hopefully a grade 1. I don't know if you've seen the photo of him, but his right shoulder, have you seen it? It's got that
Yeah,
bump on
yeah,
it.
from his rookie season.
Yeah, that's from another AC sprain. That's just gnarly looking.
That he
Uh,
didn't have surgery on.
yep. Garrett Wilson is dealing with an elbow, right elbow contusion versus sprain. Possible game time decision. There's a good chance he doesn't play. I know they got him at a 75%. I was listening to the XM radio on the way home today, and they were talking about there's a good chance Garrett Wilson doesn't play. So if he doesn't play against the Bills this week, good gosh, I feel bad for what the Bills are going to do to the Jets.
Yeah,
Deontay Johnson is dealing with a thumb injury. They didn't give any details, but 100% expect him to play. Mike Evans dealing with a quad bruise, should play. There's really no concerns. Zay Flowers got a right forearm injury, but he played last night, so there's time on that one. Michael Thomas is dealing with a knee injury. He's on a bye, so that's good. He's dealing with an MCL sprain. Potentially, it's grade 2. He could be out 2 to 4 weeks. So we'll keep an eye on that for you. Raheed Shaheed is dealing with a hip or a groin injury. He's also on a bye right now, so luckily there's time for that to heal up a little bit. Jalen Hyatt from the Giants is dealing with a concussion. He cleared the concussion protocol, so they expect him to play. Andravi, coach is going to kill me. I can't even pronounce his last name.
It's Andre Yosavas.
Yes, whatever you said. Coach is going to kill me because I know that's coach's dude. That's one of coach's dudes right there. I remember him from the Senior Bowl. Coach was in love with this guy. He did not play last night, dealing with a knee injury. Marvin Mims is dealing with 2 things, to be honest. He's dealing with an ankle injury. It's a mild ankle. likely a lateral ankle sprain. He's also dealing with being on Denver, where he's one of the better talents on the team, but they just don't use him properly at all. Um, Braxton Berrios for Miami is dealing with a hamstring. He's a game time decision. I really don't expect Braxton Berrios to play, which is doesn't sound like a big deal for Miami, but it is a huge deal because he's our punt returner. So, and he's one of the better punt returners in the league. Noah Brown from Houston has been ruled out. He's got a knee sprain, so he's not playing. Jerry Jeudy has got a hip pointer or a hip flexor. They really haven't given any details, but they expect him to play. And finally, last night, Odell Beckham Jr. is dealing with a shoulder, left AC sprain. Hopefully, it's a grade 1. He played last night. He should be good to go going forward.
Yeah, and so while you were talking, they changed Odell Beckham back to 100% again. So I think that they must have got some news recently today about him for next week already. So
Yep.
so I don't think they're too concerned about OBJ. And you mentioned Andre Iosivas, and I was fortunate enough to be able to interview him at the Senior Bowl and on TikTok. For those of you that don't know, we do have a TikTok. Please hop on there and follow us. He is our second most viewed TikTok on our entire channel over there, and it's the only one that actually pertains to football or the biggest or the most views that pertains to football, because the other one was just a stupid little video I did that had nothing to do with football. but um, but but if you'll notice, though, for any female viewers out there, like it's like 80% of all the people viewing that video are females. I mean, he's got the hair, he's got the dimples. Like, go give us the view on there and follow us, and we appreciate your support. Even if
He's
it's
got everything. He's got everything we don't have.
yeah, he's like the Filipino George Clooney over there. So, and he does talk about his cultural background in the video too, which is awesome.
Yep,
So,
absolutely.
um, all right, so I will talk about the other wide receivers here. Any of them that are officially out. Of course, we already know T. Higgins did not play last night. It looks like Trey Burks is out already, and you already mentioned Noah Brown. So no big, huge names that are guaranteed to be out at this point. But I do want to bring up Justin Jefferson here. Right hamstring. Obviously we've been waiting on his return. He still has not been taken off the short-term IR, but the fantasy doctors are getting more and more confident. They have him down to 75% likely to come back this week. Last week it was at 50-50, so they're getting closer and closer. They're feeling like it says returning week 11 or 12, and it's been that way for several weeks. So the fantasy doctors have kind of had it pinpointed down to weeks 11 or 12. We're at week 11 now. I really hope they're right, because I desperately need that man to come back. Let's see. Jalen Waddle is in. Stephon Diggs is in. Jamar Chase played last night. Nico Collins is at about 75% right now. He claims that he's going to play, but there is a 30% re-injury risk. This is one of the higher re-injuries that we've seen on here this season. And that's with a calf injury. So if that risk is at 30%, and I'm the coaching staff or the training staff, I'm pleading for him to not play, but he claims he's going to play. So we'll just have to wait and see on that one. Josh Downs, the Colts are on bye this week, which is good, because that's the only way that the Colts will let this man have a break and rest up to be ready to go for the end of the season. So Christian Watson is in this week. Drake London on bye again this week, or not again. He's on bye this week, which
He's
is
been on bye all season, right? Like Arthur Smith's like, you're on bye again. I'm not throwing you the ball. We're not gonna scheme anything open for you.
The fantasy doctors are calling for a 30 to 40% decreased performance. So, like you said, they're not giving him the ball anyway, so I guess that doesn't matter. DeAndre Hopkins.
What's 30% of nothing?
Yeah. DeAndre Hopkins, Puka, and KJ Osborne all in, according to the fantasy doctors. DJ Chark in. Yeah, so that's game time decisions. We do have 2 game time decisions here. We got Tyler Lockett, and then a guy I've been waiting on in a couple of leagues all season long, Zay Jones. Came out of the preseason in week 1 looking like he was gonna be a Pro Bowl player, and he had one game outside of that where he wasn't injured, and he came in and had another great double-digit game for the Jaguars, and then he went back on the injury for that same knee again. So he's been dealing with this knee injury all season long, and but when he is out there playing, he is a huge go-to target for Trevor Lawrence. So if Zay Jones can find his way out there, right now they have him down as a true game time decision, um, but he like I say, he's been out since week 5. They're hoping that he can come back this week. They've got him down for 50-50. I really hope Zay Jones can make his way back personally.
Maybe Zay Jones is the key to unlocking Trevor Lawrence, and we just don't know it.
I mean, something needs to unlock him, right? I mean,
Yep. But by
he
the way,
was
I wanted to revisit Josh Down real quick. Rumor on the street is that they've been making him do 2 a days during the bye week. So just want to throw that out there and let you know.
I don't doubt it at all. Um, We already talked about Mark Andrews. The other guys that are out are Hayden Hurst and Gerald Everett. Fortunately, there's not a whole lot of big names on here, but and any names on the tight ends that you want to talk about, George?
Not really. Pat Fryermuth is an interesting one. He's coming back
Yeah.
from short term IR. True game time decision. Like last year with Kenny Pickett and all the weapons that they have in Pittsburgh, like he was one of the higher targeted
Hmm.
tight ends. So with the loss of Mark Andrews, check your waiver wire. I'm actually going to do that in a couple of leagues where I need a tight end. I'm going to see if Fryermuth is available. Um, Also, with no Gerald Everett, I do really kind of like Donald Parham this week as a sneaky play for tight end. Um, and then Darren Waller, he's on short term IR. He's able to return week 14. I'm not sure I want to roll him out for the playoffs, fantasy playoffs, even though the talent is there with Danny DeVito's little nephew, Tommy, at quarterback. So it's just a couple guys coming back, but Pat Fryermuth really is one that has me interested. Him and Dallas Goddard. Like I'm hoping Dallas Goddard can make it back in time for the fantasy playoffs. He's somebody I would absolutely consider stashing.
Yeah, Dallas Goddard is interesting to me because they talked about putting him on IR after the injury happened. It's been 2 weeks now, and they still haven't put him on the IR. He's still floating out there as doubtful every week, which, I mean, obviously he's not going to play. It's a broken forearm. But if they're not putting him on the IR, it almost makes me feel like he doesn't need surgery because he would know by now, right? Like it's a
You would
broken
think,
forearm.
yeah.
If you need a surgery, you would know by now and you would have had the surgery. So since he didn't have a surgery and he's not placed on IR, it almost like makes me feel like maybe the break wasn't as severe. If you watch when he got rolled up on underneath, it's not like his arm came up and was just kind of flailing about, like
Yep.
you don't like it didn't look vicious and horrible. So maybe there's a shot we see him say week 12, week 13. I mean, it's just speculation on my part. I'm no doctor and I didn't even stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, but if I had to guess, it makes me feel confident that if I already have Goddard, I'm going to stash him, and if I had Mark Andrews or if I'm hurting at tight end, I'm going to go look and see if he's out there.
Yep.
But I definitely love your suggestion for Donald Parham. I didn't even consider that, even when I saw Gerald Everett was out. I think that's an awesome suggestion there. If you just need a week, um,
A bye
you
week tight
know,
end.
yeah, 1 week tight end. So I like
So
it.
the last thing I want to point out is a couple guys currently on injured reserve. They're on short term, and they're within their window to return. Uh, KJ Hamler for your Colts is initiated his 21 day to return from IR. Um, so has Khalil Herbert. He's in his window from his high ankle sprain, so he's eligible to come back at any time now. Devon Achane, we talked about earlier. Justin Jefferson, we talked about earlier. And Pat Fryermuth, we just talked about. So those are just a couple of guys. that are eligible to come back from IR. They're within their window, and they should be returning here shortly.
Yeah, I should have scrolled down because earlier I said they had not opened that window yet for Jefferson, but I knew they were talking about it like they were going to, but I didn't realize that they did. So that's a good sign.
Yep, absolutely good sign.
All right. Excellent. So again, that's find us everywhere. Just whatever platform you're on, just hit that search bar and type in Toilets and Titles. I guarantee you it's going to be us. It's not going to be some other show. Because that name was available everywhere. Yeah. So we appreciate you guys. This is that's it for TGIF. Unless you have anything else, George.
No, I hope everybody has a good weekend. Between now and next week, next TGIF, we won't see you guys. So I hope everybody has a safe and happy Thanksgiving.
Good luck in week 11.